We all know what some of the rarest shinies in Pokemon Go are, from shiny Salazzle to shiny Larvesta to shiny Rotom. However, has anyone begged the question, what is the least rare shiny in the game? The shiny that the most amount of players have and is arguably less rare than some normal forms of certain Pokemon. So today we're counting down the top 10 least rare shinies in the game that I think are the most common and the vast majority of players probably have. Let's hop right into it. Let me know if you agree with my list or not. In the number 10 slot, we are going to start with one of my most hated shiny Pokemon, the bronze Pokemon, Bronzor. Bronzor is just a chunk of metal that will appear out of nowhere and it will randomly be shiny. Now, Bronzor Shiny was released in May of 2018 during the Extraordinary Raid week, and Bronzor Shiny debuted in Tier 1 raids. So because of that, Bronzor was given a 1 in 64 shiny odds, the perma-boosted shiny odds that a lot of Pokemon get in Pokemon Go. This is unlike the 1 in 500 shiny odds that most Pokemon have. Normally, it made sense for this Pokemon because it was locked behind raids and behind eggs. So at the time, it made sense. But over the years, this Pokemon started to become more and more common in the wild and appear nearly everywhere. It's one of the most commonly seen wild spawns. Since Shiny Bronzor's debut, it's been available in 10 global events as either a wild spawn or an incense spawn. It had a spotlight hour in May of 2020, and has also been featured during Sinnoh Tour and during Global Go Fest 2022. It's also been a seasonal spawn available for 3-month periods in the wild everywhere. And look, in my storage, I have 2 Shiny Bronzors. I swear I had more though. I think I transferred a bunch of them because I had way too many of them. Yeah. Moving on to the number 9 spot, which we are going to give to Squirtle. Now, specifically, we're talking about Squirtle Squad Squirtle because this was a glitched shiny in the game. But let me explain. So when Niantic first gave us Squirtle Community back in July of 2018, they decided to make this community special by giving us Squirtle Squad Squirtle, the one with the glasses from the anime, in field research tasks. While it was an amazing idea, Niantic did cheap out on giving the Squirtles regular old sunglasses, not the iconic Squirtle Squad sunglasses. Although I believe there's some in the Squirtle Squad that do wear the regular sunglasses. This was a huge feature for Community Day because this was actually the first time you could ever encounter a field research task encounter with a Community Day Pokemon. We didn't have field research task encounters for Community Day Pokemon until then. But obviously this led to a problem. The community quickly worked out that you encountered a shiny sunglasses Squirtle from a field research task. Everyone that got the exact same field research task at the same Pokestop would get a guaranteed shiny. If you don't know, shinies are usually individual, so every Pokemon I click on might not be shiny for you, but it could be shiny for me. But in this case, everybody who collected the field research task from the same Pokestop got a shiny, giving you a guaranteed shiny Squirtle in Pokemon Go. Now this was big because back in the day, community days were not the same as they are today, as the amount of spawns appearing around was almost halved, and the shiny rate wasn't as high. So leaving a community with 10 plus shinies was a really good outcome. But for this community day, using this exploit, trainers were able to get 20 plus shinies. Instead of walking around a park trying to find a shiny Squirtle, they could go ahead and just find a Pokestop that the community have told them is a guaranteed shiny and just complete that for a guaranteed. Moving on though, Squirtle then had a bunch of more appearances with the OG Squirtle Community Day. We also had the Ed Sheeran collaboration event back in 2021, which also featured this Squirtle, and then Squirtle Community Day Classic back in July of 2023. Squirtle's also been featured in plenty of other events. Overall, obviously Kanto, Gen 1, one of the most common shinies in the game for sure. Fun fact, Pokédexi's starter was actually Squirtle, although I deleted it from my account. Currently, right now, I have 5 Squirtles, and one of them given to me by Kevin on my group trip to Japan. My only sunglasses shiny Squirtle I ever got. Yeah. Moving up to number 8, though, the most sus Pokemon, the Lick Pokemon, Lickitung. Being a Kanto Pokemon, this Pokemon was released when the game was launched back in 2016, and it was a pretty rare Pokemon to find. Lickitung was one of the last Kanto Pokemon, excluding the regionals, that was actually available to help you complete your Kanto Pokedex, and its shiny was released during Lickitung Raid Day back in February of 2020, so it's only been in the game for 5 years, right? Now, this was an odd choice for a Raid Day, right? It wasn't a legendary, and Niantic were experimenting with the idea of having non-legendary Raid Days during this time. However, Lickitung was given a 1 in 10 shiny odds during this Raid Day, which is the highest shiny odds of any Pokemon Go event. Then after that, Lickitung became a perma-boosted shiny Pokemon, becoming a 1 in 64 shiny odds. However, Lickitung was instantly thrown into the wild spawns. Why was it given a 1 in 64 shiny odds when it is a common wild spawn? Well, because I think Niantic was considering it more of a rare-ish Pokemon, and from the start of the game when it was released in 2016, it was considered more rare, you could say. But let me just say, since then, Lickitung's been featured at almost 10 global events, 1 global Go Fest, 2 Go Tour events, Kanto and Sinnoh, and is maybe no longer a rare Pokemon, more of an uncommon Pokemon, and honestly not hard to find. It also has a really large design, making it stand out on the map, so a lot of people will click on it because it's just huge and it's just right there. I can't tell you guys the amount of times I've clicked on a shiny Lickitung when there was a Pokemon right beside it that I wanted to be shiny. This thing is just always shining for me. Pokédexi's Lickitung count, I am at 7 shiny Lickitungs, so obviously I have a lot. That's why it's in the number 8 spot. But moving on into number 7, a Pokemon that was really hype, and honestly, a lot of people spent a lot of money when it was first released. And that's going to be the tiny raccoon Pokemon, Galarian Zigzagoon. Like every Pokemon that has a regional variant, that regional variant is usually a shiny boosted out of the yin-yang Pokemon. You have regular Farfetch, which Galarian Farfetch has a 1 in 64 shiny rate. You have Grimer, where Alolan Grimer has a 1 in 64 shiny rate. And same thing with Galarian Zigzagoon. The regular form is full odds, the Galarian form 1 in 64. They usually do this because these regional forms tend to be locked to 7km eggs or to raids. So in Galarian Zigzagoon was first released in June of 2020, it was locked to 7km eggs. Its shiny was then released during the Luminous Y Part 2 event, locked to raids and the Win a Raid Field Research task. And it wasn't until March 2023, during the Rising Hero season, Galarian Zigzagoon started to spawn in the wild. So you might think, this Pokemon hasn't really been a wild spawn and shiny for a while, but since then, it's been released at 7 global events in the wild as a perma-boosted shiny Pokemon. It also did have a community in August of 2022 with boosted 1 in 25 shiny odds, and nowadays you can find Galarian Zigzagoons everywhere. You can even use Dawnwing's Necrozma, Moongeist's Beam Adventure Effect to spawn Galarian Zigzagoons in at any point. So if you want this shiny at any point in the game, you just need a Dawnwing's Necrozma, you need to use its Adventure Effect, go for a walk, and I bet you will encounter one of these. I myself have 4 of these. Honestly, I thought I had more, but still, these things are just everywhere. Moving on to the number 6 spot, which I was honestly considering putting at number 1, but we're gonna put in the number 6 spot, Sneasel. I cannot stop encountering shiny Sneasels. Back in the day, encountering a dark type Pokemon was quite hard. And Sneasel, when it was debuted back in February of 2017, was a pretty hard Pokemon to find. Its shiny was then released during the Team Rocket Disruption event back in July of 2019. And during the event, it was only available in 5km eggs and tier 1 raids. Again, because of this, Sneasel was given a 1 in 64 shiny rate because it was locked and it was hard to find. It made a lot of sense at the time. But since then, Sneasel has been featured in 19 global events as either a wild spawn or an instant spawn. It was featured during Chicago and Yokohama Go Fest back in 2019. It was also featured during Global Go Fest in 2024. It was featured during the Johto Tour. It was featured during the Sinnoh Tour Global, and overall has been one of the most over-featured Pokemon across the board. It even received a research day back in January of 2021, where I believe it had 1 in 10 shiny odds from field research tasks. This research day was a little bit different than regular research days as well, in which you had 20 pages of free timed research that gave you a total of 66 Sneasel encounters. When you have 66 Sneasel encounters and 1 in 10 shiny odds, you are almost guaranteed to get a guaranteed shiny during this event. If you did not get a shiny Sneasel from 66 checks, when the odds are 1 in 10, your luck is horrible. Overall, this Pokemon is so common, and I think everybody, almost everybody who's been playing for a couple years has multiple shinies of these. I have 8. I have 8 of these, and I swear to God, I've transferred some of these because I feel like I have way more than 8 shiny Sneasels. Like, there's no way I only have 8. Oh, I have a shiny Weavile as well. I've evolved 10. 10 of these shinies. This is insane. It's never had a community day. Anyway. Moving on to number 5. Now, I didn't really want to put this Pokemon on the list because unfortunately, this one really hurts my heart. But in the number 5 slot, we have to throw the Darkness Pokemon, Sableye. Now, although Sableye is one of the greatest Pokemon in the world, love my boy, it has definitely lost its rarity over the years. Sableye was released in October of 2017 during the Halloween event, and its shiny was released at the same time. And Sableye, when it came to the game, instantly was given a perma-boosted shiny odds of 1 in 64. Not really sure why. I guess it was kind of a rare Pokemon to get, but it wasn't locked in raids or anything like that. So it was just kind of like given a common availability, I guess. Now, of course, this was all at the time. Sableye was most likely probably more rare in the wild, but over the years, Sableye became a more common spawn. Since then, it's been featured in 16 global events, Chicago 2019 Go Fest, 3 global Go Fest, 2020, 2021, and Max Finale 2025. It's given 3 spotlight hours. It was also featured during the Searching for Gold Research Day, which had 1 in 10 shiny odds on Sableye, and overall has been featured a lot. I think one of the main reasons Sableye has become more common and featured in more events is it is an amazing Pokemon to grind Stardust, getting you 750 Stardust every time you catch it. But the fact that Sableye, as a perma boosted Pokemon, has been given 3 spotlight hours and a research day makes it so anybody who's played these events has most likely collected a shiny Sableye. It is very easy to check 64 Pokemon in an hour in a spotlight hour. So usually a lot of people are leaving that spotlight hour with multiple shinies. I remember Sableye spotlight hour, I think I got 2 or 3 shinies. Overall, it sucks that one of my favorite Pokemon is not a super rare shiny in the game, but also I'm happy that it is a very featured Pokemon because everyone can grind the Stardust and get more Sableyes so they can trade them to me. As you can see, I have 20 Sableyes in the game. I have had to transfer some because when I'm on live stream, some people force me to transfer shinies through challenges, but I love Sableye. He's my favorite. Moving on though to the number 4 slot, we're gonna have to throw the egg Pokemon Chansey in here. Now, I wanted to almost put this Pokemon in first because I feel like I have way too many Chanseys and encounter way too many of these shinies. It was literally just featured in the Kanto Celebration event. In the OG days, Chansey was a rare spawn. It was a spawn that everybody wanted because they wanted to throw it into the gyms as it was the best gym defender. Still is, actually. The only times you could really catch Chansey was during the Valentine's Day events from 2017 to 2019 or find it as a rare spawn in the wild. And Shiny Chansey was finally released during the Valentine's Day event in 2020. Now at the time, Chansey was given a 1 in 64 shiny odds because again, this was a rarer Pokemon. Niantic considered it a rare spawn, so they didn't want to make the shiny odds absolutely insane when you couldn't get a lot of checks with it. But again, since then, Chansey has become much common, being featured in over 8 global events as a wild spawn, featured in 4 global Go Fest, 2020, 2022 Finale, 2025 and 2025 Max Finale. It's also been featured during the Kanto Tour. It's been featured during the Johto Tour. It was given a Community Day back in February of 2024 with 1 in 24 shiny odds, and overall has been very heavily featured. The fact that Chansey has been featured in over 6 large-scale global events, aka tours, Go Fest, etc., in the past 4 years, and given a calm day, anybody who's been playing Pokemon Go for the past 4 years has most likely encountered a shiny Chansey. The thing that sucks about Chansey too is that its evolution Blissey's shiny sucks, so it's not even a really fun shiny to encounter. This is why Shiny Chansey is definitely the number 4 least rare shiny in the game. I have 22 shiny Chanseys. I guess 2 of those include, or 3 of those are Happenings, but I got a lot of these. I don't even think I played the Calm Day for this. Did I play the Calm Day? Okay, never mind. I did. I played the Community Day special weekend. I never played the original Calm Day for it, so goes to show how many I could have. Before I go again top 3, I do want to quickly give an honorable mention. Haven't talked about Pikachu yet. Now, obviously, Pikachu is probably a pretty common shiny. It's been in the game for a long time. But just the fact that it doesn't have boosted shiny odds and it's only ever had 1 Community Day, I actually don't think it is one of the most common shinies in the game. Obviously, a lot of people probably have Pikachu. It could probably fit itself on the list and maybe deserves a spot on the list, but we're not mentioning it. It is an honorable mention. If you were to put it on the list, let me know what spot you'd give it. But moving into the number 3 spot, which I think deserves the number 3 spot much more, is going to be one of the most iconic Pokemon in the game, and that's going to be the lizard Pokemon, Charmander. Now, not a real surprise this Pokemon is on the list, as Charizard is one of the most iconic, most loved Pokemon in the Pokemon franchise. Charmander's shiny was released back in May of 2018 during Charmander's first Community Day. And yes, I said first. Since then, Charmander has been released in 8 global events as a wild spawn or from incense, 2 global Go Fest events, 2024 and Max Finale 2025, and it was also featured as a costume Charmander in 2020's Global Go Fest, so technically 3. But the main reason I think Charmander is not rare is because it's had 3 Community Days. Yes, 3 Community Days. There is not a lot of Pokemon that have had 3 Community Days in the game. Now, if you don't know, Community Days have a 1 in 25 shiny odds, making it almost virtually impossible to not leave a Community Day with a shiny version of a Pokemon. It had its first Community Day back in 2018, where the shiny odds were not as high as they were nowadays. Then its second Community Day happened in October of 2022. This was a 6-hour Community Day where shiny Charmander's shiny odds were 1 in 25. Meaning if you were playing through this whole 6 hours of this event, you would be able to get a ton of shiny Charmanders. Then Charmander got a 3rd Community Day, Community Day Classic, back in September of 2024. This was just a 3-hour Community Day, but overall, Charmander's had over 12 hours of 1 in 25 shiny odds over the past 7 years. And I definitely think that puts it in the book as the least rare shiny in the game because it is not a hard shiny to get. I wouldn't even be surprised if Charmander got a 4th community because it is a beloved Pokemon. Niantic or Scopely or whatever love to give this Pokemon communities. Now, looks may be deceiving. I only have 2 Charmanders, 1 Charmander and a Charizard. I've traded so many of these away for just random special trades. So I don't have a lot, but trust me, I've caught a lot of shiny Charmanders. I give them away. JT Gilly always wants them from me. Okay, that brings us into the number 2 spot, the second least rare shiny in Pokemon Go, and we have to throw it over to the first ever shiny that came to the game, Shiny Magikarp. Shiny Magikarp is very special because in March of 2017, it was featured in the Water Festival event, being the first ever shiny available in Pokemon Go. And it was a race to get this shiny, as you could be the first person in Pokemon Go history to catch a shiny. And Magikarp, since that event, has been featured a lot, being featured in over 19 global events. Which one of these was the Growing Up event where it had Shiny Boost. It was featured during Dortmund and Chicago Go Fest. It was featured during 2 global Go Fest events. It had a Spotlight Hour in May of 2022, and it had a 6-hour community day in August of 2020. Magikarp has been featured across the board and has been the shiny that's been in the game for the longest. So of course you would have to put on a list for the least rare shiny in the game because it's just been in the game. It's been available for the longest amount of time. I currently only have 7 Magikarps and Gyarados in Pokemon Go. Again, I trade a lot of my Pokemon away for just random special trades. So I'm probably not the best count, but this is definitely a common shiny, not hard to get. But that brings us in to the least rare shiny Pokemon in the game. The most common one, the one that I would put money that you probably have in your account right now. And that's going to go to the evolution Pokemon, Eevee. From a survey, Eevee was ranked as the 5th most memorable Pokemon in the whole Pokemon franchise, and it was overall a fan favorite. And well, you can't blame them. Eevee can evolve into 8 different evolutions, with all of them having their special features and being, I guess, pretty cute. Eevee was released at the same time Pokemon Go was launched, and its shiny was finally released in August of 2018 in its first Community Day event. Now, you might not think anything is very special about this Pokemon, right? It's been featured in community days, been featured in events, all that stuff. But the reason this Pokemon is so not rare is because of how loved it is and how featured in events it is. It is another Pokemon that has had 3 community days. It's been featured in over 9 events in its regular form as a wild spawn. It's been featured in 2 global events, 2020 and 2024 Global Go Fest. It's been featured in 3 Go Tour events, Kanto, Sinnoh, and Johto. It's had 3 Spotlight Hours and has been featured in different costumes in plenty of different events. Aside from Pikachu, Eevee is one of the most costumed Pokemon in the game, always given a flower crown or a top hat or whatever. And overall, if there's a way to shove an Eevee into an event, Niantic will find a way. Now, there's a reason why Niantic makes this Pokemon so available. Eevee, of course, has 8 evolutions, so they want you to allow you to get a lot of shiny Eevee so you can evolve them into shiny Flareon, shiny Vaporeon, etc., etc. And this is just a way for more people to get shiny Eevees. Also, something special about the Eevee community days is that they've always been 2-day events, aka unlike regular community days where it's only 3 hours or 6 hours depending on the time. Eevee community days have been 2 days where it's 2 back-to-back 6-hour days or 2 back-to-back 3-hour days, making them double the time of a regular community day, giving trainers a lot more time to go ahead and catch this shiny Pokemon. This Pokemon is overall a fan favorite Pokemon, has been featured in so many different events, and overall gets so much love from the developers, which honestly, who can blame them? Everybody loves Eevee. Fun fact, it's my girlfriend's favorite Pokemon. I'm gonna explain to Sarah. Actually, no, I'm gonna take you, there's a Pikachu that you can take a picture with. Or no, an Eevee. I hate Eevee, but... An Eevee? So with that, let's end out and find out how many shiny Eevees I get. Is it really the least rare Pokemon in the game? I got 42 of them. I got 42 shiny Eevees in some way, so we can definitely say this Pokemon is not that rare. Watch these other videos on screen if you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you agree with my list, what Pokemon you would remove, what Pokemon you would add, and how many shinies of each do you have. We'll catch you all in the next one. Fall for tips. Peace.